am so excited to be sharing with you today. I am going to wait a few minutes for some of you to come on. Let me know if you can hear me okay. So awesome. This week has been amazing. And these women have been like really killing it. So I have like big footprints to walk in. I'm a little nervous, to say the least, but I'm excited to be sharing with you today. And I can't see any comments, so I'm assuming that you all can hear me okay. Awesome. Well, I am going to get started. I am Kimberly Smith, the Purpose Catalyst, and I have a firm called the Purpose Catalyst Coaching Firm. And what I do is I help women move from being okay with potential and moving forward to being catapulted in purpose. It's a big transition. And it's a totally different world. And I help women navigate through that transition and help them move into purpose. And it's funny because it really is my motto that I help women move into a place of power. So everything that we are going to be talking about today is something that I have discussed with clients in the past, things that I have discussed with groups in the past, and things that I speak on and believe on for myself. So I am thoroughly excited to be sharing with this community, and I am so grateful that I have the opportunity. So one of the topics when it was presented was from the pit to power. And it resonated so deeply with me because it's a part of the transitional process that I help women through when they're moving from potential. When you are just kind of happy with potential and you're walking along and everything is okay, you may never really understand the quirks and the necessity of being in the pit and what to learn from the pit. So I am thoroughly excited to help you find what I call your superpower today. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is what the pit really means, and what happens in the pit and how you move, because it is a journey from pit to power, and you have to understand what you're welding when it's time to move to power. Hi, Andrea. I'm so glad that you joined. So first things first, a lot of times, and even in the Bible, when we talk about, oh, by the way, I am a church girl, and probably more so, I am a Jesus girl. So you'll probably hear him sprinkled throughout this conversation. It's okay though. We'll be good. And so one of the things, even in like just movie times, if you think about the movies and you see people digging pits and, throwing people in, or even in biblical times, when people were thrown into pits, and even Joseph was a prime example, it is noted as a negative space. And it's noted as something that people do to you because of jealousy, envy, or, they have ulterior motives or whatever the case may be. But today, I really want to shift your perspective and your mindset about what a pit really is. So first things first, every pit is a plot twist. It's a plot twist for us because we don't know what is going on, how we got here, what happened. Even if we made a wrong decision, it's a matter of, well, what prompted me to make that decision? I don't know if we really investigated to that perspective. But it's a plot twist for us. But it's something in the divine journey that we've been given. And it's something along the lines of purpose that you are going to need. So first things first, I want you to think about the essence of the pit being your new training ground. It's not a negative place. People may have put you in with words, with actions. You have made the wrong decision and found yourself in a pit of indecision or a pit of wrong decision. But today I want you to change your thinking and realize that the pit can also be your training ground. So let's talk about Joseph. And his brothers threw him in large pit, went back and told his father he was dead because they were jealous of him. Joseph was a dreamer. He knew bits and pieces of what would happen in his future. And you have to understand that not everybody can handle what is currently going on with you, what they see that you're moving towards, and even what you let go of to pursue purpose and power. So it is an interesting thing to be placed in what people say is a pit or underground, when in actuality it's the training ground on how to deal with them. So let's talk about it. One, when we get in there, what are we doing other than scrambling to find a way out, never realizing what it really was built to do? As I mentioned, the pit is definitely your training ground. So it's interesting and it's a necessity that you spend time there. Don't live there. Don't build a house and move and do a change of address to the pit. Not what this is all about. But while you're there, you have to be able to master the skills that you need in order to move to a place of power. So spend this time strategizing, learning, and becoming better and moving to power. So when you go into the pit, first things first, if you're looking to run out, you're going to size up the pit. You're going to see how deep is it? How wide is it? How high is it? And then, is it gravel? Is it dirt? What are the surroundings in this pit? You have to become a master of what exactly you're trying to overcome while you're in the pit. So first things first, stop trying to be rescued. It's your training ground. You'll never be able to master anything unless you learn and how to operate it, how to use it effectively, how to use it to your best interests. So when you're in the pit, learn how to use your skills, your talents, your abilities, leverage your wisdom in the pit so you can learn how to come out and never have to go into that exact one. And the depth of the pit is really to the extent of the intensity of your power. So it's essential that you learn everything you need to learn at this moment, because if you don't, you'll revisit the same pit over and over again. And it won't be fun. And you'll wonder why are you back again? It's because you didn't master what you needed to master in the first place. So first things first, stop looking to be rescued. No one is coming for you. No one is the plug. It's important that you understand that you are your own plug. And if you're in the pit, it's a necessity so that you can be the plug for others. See, what happens is most people can avoid the same pit if you're able to leverage your wisdom and explain how others can move around it, especially if they fell into it due to poor decision making. So let's talk about how you can move through. It's important to measure the pit. You have to understand, what am I supposed to learn here? And why did this happen? It may be some introspection that's necessary on your part, and not necessarily beating up on yourself. There are two different things, but I want you to use a level of introspection. Evaluate exactly what happened. Is it something that you put yourself into? Or is it something that happened? Was it a trap? Was it a setup? What happened that caused you to be in this place? Because you can avoid it in the future, but it's up to you to learn how to maneuver around it. So let's talk about trying to dig your way out, which is the next step. First things first, someone puts you in a pit, you're screaming, you're waiting for someone to come get you. No one's coming. So then you attempt to climb your way out of the pit prematurely, may I add, because you really haven't learned why you're in there in the first place. These are your new surroundings. Why are you there? What prompted you to be in this place? And who are the people that are commonplace around every time you're in a pit? We need to evaluate the squad. What's your circle look like? And these are essential factors in determining if they can go with you when it's time for you to gain full power and the momentum necessary to gain the power. So this is where I kind of take note and we stop here. And I've had to evaluate this for myself. Even recently, there have just been a string of circumstances that have caused me to stop and think, what happened? How did I get here? Was it because I made the wrong decision? Was it because I chose to go, in a direction that really wasn't meant for me to go in? And you'll know because there'll be certain cues, or what I like to call breadcrumbs, that tell you, yes, this is for you. Every open door is not a door you should go through and could lead you to a pit that you really shouldn't and aren't designed to be in. So then you do have to wait for 911 and the emergency response team because you weren't ready for that door. So in this case, we are going to talk about the pit that's ready for you though, and during this journey and purpose. So let's talk about it. What is the depth? And when I say the depth of the pit, it means what is the depth and the source of your power? If you think about it, your purpose is always aligned to what has been the common factor in creating havoc in my life or creating pain in my life? Where have been the common pain points? Because if you can find common pain points, and they may trickle in, but there's always a source. And I don't know if we always look at the source of our symptoms. See, the symptoms are common. So when I'm not a cold girl, I get sinus infections. So that means I have congestion. I have a runny nose. My throat is sore. My glands are swollen. My face hurts. My ears are ringing and they hurt. And oftentimes I have these pressure headaches and these migraines that nothing helps. But the source of it is because I didn't take care of myself. Have I been running ragged and not really taking vitamins and not really making sure I'm taking care of my body in such a way that, my sinus cavities are clear? Did I catch a cold? Was I around the wrong people and they had germs that I picked up? And what is a cold for them becomes a cold for one day for me and a sinus infection in another. Which means you could be allergic to some people in a sense. Did that cause the pit for me? And so you need to evaluate what is the source of these pain points. Why does this continue to happen to me? And so what I did was when I started really thinking about becoming a purpose coach, I started looking at what were some of the sore spots? Where was all of this stemming from? And it was stemming from relationships. It was stemming from feeling like people dropped me off and left me to fend for myself. And thereby always feeling like they dropped me off in a pit. And it was because abandonment was coming to attract me so that I wouldn't relate to people. Because you can't be a coach. You can't be a purpose catalyst. You can't be a life coach. You can't be a business coach if you hate people and you never want to see people succeed. So with that being said, you have to understand the source of the pain. So let's start from ground one. What is the source of the pain? So if I had to give you points today, the pit is, first one, let's identify what's been plaguing us all of our lives. And then let's move to conquer that. Because a lot of times what I found, and this is personally, and this is with others, we have taken what people have said about us, how people have treated us, and we have put that higher than what God says about us. So if he says that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, if he says that you are more than a conqueror, but you accept the fact that someone says that you are imperfect, if you accept the fact that someone says you'll never be anything, if you accept the fact that someone says, and what gives you the right to be a coach, and you put that over what God says, you have just made that your God. No one gets the right to sit on the throne of my heart and take up residence and take real estate there for years without dying on a cross for me. There was no bloodshed for all of these people that have these comments, that have these perspectives, and think that they can put them on you and this is what you should be doing. So the only person that gets to do that would be Jesus. That's number one. And number two, those aligned with what he says about my life. Because in essence, if he aligned them for my life, they're going to correct, they're going to cheerlead, and they are going to prompt me always to do better and to become what I should become. So these are not the people that should put you in the pit. I hope you caught it. All right, number two. So the depth of the pit is the source of your pain. You cannot heal from it until you first identify it, until you figure out how to avoid it in the future, and then you can subdue it and make it bow down to you. That's the power. Until you have learned how to lasso it and cause it to become a slave to you, then you really haven't conquered it. If every time somebody brings it up and it's still a source of contention for you, you've not conquered it yet, which then is contrary to who you're called to be, because you are called to be more than a conqueror. So if you're called to that, but something else is conquering you, you're not living to your full capacity of life. You're not being fulfilled. You might be happy, but you don't have joy. So then you have to decide what's more important, my pit and what people say to me, or who I was really created to be. Because essentially I didn't create myself, so I don't have the right to become what other people say I should become, or even become who I think I should be. Or mimic other people who seem to be doing it well, and because they do it well, then I think I should become more like them. You have to stay in the pits that are in your lane, because they don't have what you have, and your power is different from their power, and their pit may not be that deep. So you could be in a shallow pit and never be able to conquer what you need to conquer to really move to your place of power. And that's the important part. What is your place of power? What is your place of prosperity? What is your place of peace? And that's not really something somebody can give to you. That is something that you have to make a conscious decision to be very clear on. Because if you're not clear on it, then everything attached to you will be full of chaos and havoc. And that is not how someone in power is able to live. I think I digressed a little, but I wanted to make sure we were clear. All right. So number two, stop trying to dig your way out before it's time. You'll never be in a place of power. You'll never be a woman of power. You'll never be able to teach other people what power looks like and even how to get there, because you decided to evacuate before it was time. Okay. Number three, your way of escape will be found by mastering, like I said, the height, the depth, and the location. So I live in the Northeast region, Mid-Atlantic. I'm like 10 minutes from Maryland, and I'm like an hour from Baltimore, but I'm 2 hours from DC, and I'm 30 minutes from Philly. So I'm really centrally located. But the first time I went to Florida, I realized they had palm trees. Delaware can't have palm trees. It's two different climates. So if I don't master the climate in my area, I will never be able to grow. So let's say this again. If I don't master the climate in my area, I will never be able to grow. See, palm trees can't be in Delaware because we have snow. We don't have like 60, 70, 80, 90-degree weather all year round. We have, I think right now it's 55. And I love it. I'm a fall winter girl, so I'm here for it. That's why I can never live in Florida. So if you realize that you're really a palm tree, but your environment is that of the Northeast, you're in the wrong lane. You can't be powerful. See, a palm tree, no matter how big it is, no matter how it falls when you chop it down, it will never thrive in Delaware. It'll never happen. Like the little lizards, what they call iguanas, that are in Mexico and stuff, they couldn't be here. They couldn't be here. They would never be able to make it through winter. They would die. There would be dead iguanas all over our streets. And likewise, we don't really have earthquakes here. So I really wouldn't know how to react in a place like California where there are more frequent earthquakes. Could I adjust? I absolutely could. but is that really where I'm called to reside? Today, I want you to really think about your place of power being more than just what you've overcome, but it's where you reside. You can live in power. You don't have to give it up. You don't have to relinquish it to anybody. You don't have to terminate your rights to it. And I want you to think about terminating your rights as in dying to it, because there's a story in the Bible about Elisha, who's a prophet. And when he was dead, they buried him. You know, that's what we do. We bury people, they die. Can I tell you how powerful Elisha was? That to the extent that they buried someone on top of Elisha's bones and the man became resurrected. He lived again. That is legacy. So I want you to understand that when you find your place of power, you find your lane of legacy. Who will live even if you died? Do you have the transferable wealth and wisdom for others to carry on? Do you have the ability to live in so much power that even with one coaching session, even with one like Facebook Live, even with one session, no matter what you do, video, audio, podcast, digital library, will you change the life of someone? Because that's true power. And I mean, change it for the good and allow them to really walk in their own authenticity. Because being in a place of power requires you to be authentic about who you really are. See, I can put makeup on and I can come and I can talk to you all today and I can do all of that. But at the end of the day, foundation, lipstick, this beautiful statement necklace means absolutely nothing if I am giving you something that I have not lived. I don't have the ability or the authority to really even teach you that if I've not literally overcome it or lived through it myself to tell you about it. So you can't have this survivor, I've been through it and oh, it was so tough. You haven't really conquered it. You haven't really mastered it. You haven't really lived through it, but you lived in it. And words are very important. One of the things that I want you to realize today is when you move into power, because what you will get out of the pit, let's be clear about that. You will move out of the pit of horrible thinking, out of the pit of accepting other people's opinions. You'll move out of the pit of being hard on yourself. Okay, so maybe you didn't make your revenue goals for October, but in November, you're going to double up and you're going to make it win because you lived through that before. So I want you to realize that some of these pits we put ourselves in. That's one. Number two, sometimes people really don't have to do anything to us because we've already surmised that we've not won. So all they have to do is repeat what we've said out of our mouth, which is point number 4. You will relinquish your power if you continue to speak negatively about your experience. If the only thing out of the pit that you can say is, I'm glad I'm out of there, you didn't conquer the pit. The pit conquered you. See, the pit is where you get to learn. And one of the things I remember, my grandfather, he was in the military. Shout out to all the veterans. Happy Veterans Day. My grandfather was in the military. He went through basic training. And he said it was tough. And my grandfather was very hard-headed. And, you know, he had his own way of thinking about things. The pit is the mindset transformation that you need. So I love all these coaches that teach mindset transformation. But the truth is, you really need to transform what you think and therefore what you say. So when he came out of basic training, he was a totally different man because he could no longer react in the same manner that he did before he entered the military. So when you get out of the pit, are you still saying the same things? Are you still doing the same thing? Are you still living the same way? Beneath your privilege? Hanging with any old body? What I want you to realize is the pit should teach you that everybody cannot have your time. Everybody is not worthy of it. I don't want you to take a superior attitude, but I want you to value who you really are in the world. And maybe you'll never be on the stage and speak to millions. But if your tribe is even 40 people, you're accountable for the transformation of those 40 people. Are you giving them the real you? Are you giving them the authentic experience that only you can give? Because they may talk to 90 other coaches, but no one can do it the way you do it. That is your superpower. That is what you are being transformed to do in the pit. So the other thing is, you can't rule what you won't identify, study, and subdue. You'll never have rule over it. You have to spend time examining why this affected you. Don't go down the rabbit hole with it. But I want you to identify, why did it happen? What can I do to change it? And how can I teach others? So if you don't identify, it will continue to be the same pit, and you'll go around year after year, month after month, week after week in the same pit until you identify it, you study it, and then you subdue it and make it bow down to you. Last but not least, I want you to stop talking yourself out of victory. People who have power have consistent victories, win after win after win. So if you are constantly down on yourself, not happy with what you're doing, not finding the joy in your purpose, you are thereby talking yourself out of the victory in your purpose and the victory in this journey and the power. You've relinquished it, but you don't have to. So I want you to stop talking yourself out of what you can do, what the possibilities are for you. Where do you see yourself in 2018? Do you have big goals? Do you have big dreams? Do you have the steps planned out? If you've not already done so, take December and rock out with all of the amazing plans that you foresee for the next year. And don't wait until January. You start killing it in December and get a jump start on everybody else who's waiting for January 1st. You roll out those plans, you roll out those courses, you roll out those sessions, and watch things flow the way that they should. See, what I learned is, I remember, I'll go back, I had a friend and I was going on an interview one time and I was like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. I really want this job, but I don't know if they'll want me. And one of the things that he said to me that I will never forget is, it is yours to lose. Meaning, I walked in with a clean slate. No one at that moment could take it away from me unless I gave it up. So I want you to know that the victory, the joy, and the peace that you have in your purpose, and even the power associated with it, it's yours to lose. You already possess it. So why not act like it? Listen, this is a boss community. So at the end of the day, this is yours to lose. You already have it. Make plans like you do. Again, I am so honored that Andrea and Nicole allowed me to speak to you today. I am excited about getting to know all of you more. You can check me out at KimberlySmith.com or on my Facebook fan page at Kimberly Smith-Purpose Catalyst. Listen, I have a book that is launching for Christmas. It is called The Launch Devotional, and it's a 40-day devotional to help you identify your purpose, progress and learn what your superpower is, and then activate in your purpose like never before. And I walk you through 40 days of doing it. Inbox me on Facebook and you can get the first 3 days totally free. The book is at bit.ly/I'm launching. So listen, connect with me. I am looking forward to connecting with all the rest of you. The speakers have been amazing. And P.S., I'm on Instagram at purpose_catalyst. I look forward to interacting with all of you. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon and have a beautiful day.